everyone, my name is Jing and welcome to class. Today we're getting started with a fun warm-up activity called You versus the audience. I have you all paired up with each other. So for instance, John, you're with Amber, and Emily, you're with Sam, and Nick, you are paired with Luisa. So you guys can check out the list of the pairing that I am sending into the chat section to see who you're paired up with. And this is what you're going to do once you find your partner. You're going to read on each other's timeline on Sutori that you worked on last night. And you are going to identify the number one thing or event your partner put down on their timeline out of the 8 to 9 things that they put down on their timeline that you think that either most resonated with you or impressed you. Basically, the one thing that really jumped out at you. Once you take a few minutes and do that, I'm going to have you come back together and discuss to see if your partner also had the same thing in their mind as the number one thing that they thought they would impress or resonate with their audience. And for the pairs of you that had different opinions, which might happen, it's great that if you had the same opinion. But for those of you who had different opinions, I am going to ask you to go around and share with the rest of the class which one you thought was the number one thing and which one your partner thought was the number one thing that really stood out. And then I'm going to ask the original story owner to decide if the opinions and reactions from the rest of the class is going to change their opinion. It doesn't have to, but let's see how this turns out. So I am going to go ahead and let you do that for the next 10 minutes. And let me know if you have any questions in the meantime. I know that this is a challenging time that we're taking this class virtually, so it's harder to communicate sometimes with these kind of activities, but hopefully with each other's contact information, you can go ahead and message each other on this. And let me know anytime in the chat section if you have any questions, or unmute yourself. So before I let you go, any questions? Jacob. That's fine. Thank you for your honesty and that you only wrote 5 events or things that you can think of instead of the 8 to 9 that was asked yesterday. It's okay. We can work with what you have right now. But obviously, if you did write 8 to 9 things or events that was asked of you yesterday, that's going to make it easier for you later on when you are putting together your story, your script, when you are getting ready for that. So I appreciate you letting me know. Any other questions? Luisa? Okay, that's a great question. So what do I mean by if it resonated with you or it really impressed you? So for instance, let's use the example of the example student from yesterday. They wrote about the first thing is that their family moved when they were 3 years old, and then they got into a skiing accident when they were 10 years old, and when they were 15, they made it into the captain of the cheerleaders on their team, and so on. So which of these events that you feel like really related to you or really impressed you? Okay, made it into the captain. Yeah, so if that's the case, then, put that down and remember that that is the thing that really jumped out at you. Okay, now I'm going to let you go off and get started. 10 minutes later. I hope you all had a fun time, class. And now I'm going to ask which groups had different opinions. Wow, that's, wow. So that's more than half the group. Great, well, interesting. So this goes to show how what you think would interest your audience the most versus what your audience thinks is the most outstanding or interesting part about you could be different. And there's no right or wrong. It's really up to you after you hear that feedback and after hearing why to sort of reconsider how you would prioritize what you think would really resonate with your audience, right? So let's start with the first group. John, your group. Okay, so Amber thought the most interesting thing you did was winning the debate in your debate class, debate club, while you thought the most interesting thing in your timeline is when you went on the trip with your family in Europe. Great, yeah, let's hear about why and then have the rest of the class vote. Okay, looks like most of the class is on your side, John. They thought your trip with your family to Europe was more memorable because of the interesting things that you got to do there and the really fun fancy restaurant that you had. Okay, so that really stood out. And I see that Nick is saying that a lot of people are on debate teams in their school already, so that, yeah, winning a debate, that happens to a lot of folks, so it might not make you stand out as much. Nice feedback, class. So I'm going to have you do that with the rest of the pairs. Okay, 5 minutes later. So today, our objective is to have you identify a central theme to your story, and then you're going to revise your timeline that you put together yesterday to relate to your central theme. So everything that we just went through in our warm-up activity is to help you recognize what are some possible central themes